All right, so just be careful. When you're doing Pythagorean theorem and you're missing a leg, that's a subtraction problem, not an addition problem. I go straight to this. I do 35 squared minus 18 squared, and I take the square root. If you want to write the equation first, a squared plus b squared equals c squared, that's perfectly fine. You can square those, but you would need to still subtract 18 squared and then end up taking the square root. So the answer to this first one, if you take the square root of 35 squared minus 18 squared, you get 30.02. What questions can I answer about how to find a missing leg in Pythagorean theorem? It was just a time thing. Yeah, it's very simple with a calculator. You're always allowed to use a calculator. So just be careful on the test. The hypotenuse is always across from the right angle. If you're looking for a hypotenuse, you would be adding, and if you're looking for a leg, you're getting smaller, so you're subtracting. The hypotenuse is always the largest side. Remember, when you were given a distance formula problem, just to let you know, distance and length are used interchangeably. So on the test, if I asked you to find the length of a segment, you're going to use the distance formula. So be careful about that. I always tell you guys to circle your x's and underline your y's. And then I ask you, I plead with you to write the distance formula without anything in it. I call it the skeleton, which is appropriate for October. I beg you to do the skeleton with nothing plugged in, because this helps you not get your negatives and your x's and your y's mixed up. So then you take your underlines, and it doesn't matter which one you put first. Let's say I'm going to put this one first both times. You take your underlines and you simply place them in the blanks. And then you take your circles and you simply place them in the blanks. If you're going to start with this coordinate first, you have to start with it first both times. Some people like to go straight to the calculator right now. You can go straight to the calculator. Some people like to simplify it a little bit first, which is totally okay as well. Just make sure when you're simplifying you don't do any mental math wrong. So this one would be 19 squared plus 9 squared. And at this point I would definitely just head straight to my calculator, and you get 21.0. Okay? Rounding to the nearest tenth, so that's one decimal place when it says to round to the nearest tenth. Alright, so when we're doing a midpoint problem, I recommend you do it the same way. I recommend you circle the x's and underline the y's. And you're simply finding the average. When you find the average of something, you add it up and divide by 2. When you find the average of something, you add it up and divide by 2. So midpoint is your friend. Midpoint is one of the easiest problems. So it'd be 24 divided by 2, should get you 12, and then it would be 8 divided by 2, which would get you 4. So that is a quick and easy problem. Midpoint, add your x's, divide by 2, add your y's, divide by 2. So just keep in mind when you're given an endpoint formula that this is a leapfrog problem, but the only way you can mess this up is by not putting the midpoint in the middle. So make sure you're putting the midpoint in the middle, the midpoint in the middle, the midpoint in the middle. So we have that. We're going to deal with our x's first. From -2 to 8, that is plus 10. So if we want to go plus 10 again, 8 plus 10 would land us at 18. Then we do our y's. From 7 to -1, that's backwards 8, right? So we want to go backwards 8 again, and that would land us at -9. So 18, comma, -9 would be our answer for our end point. Make sure you put the midpoint in the middle, midpoint in the middle. What is the slope of a line parallel to this line? Now, you absolutely cannot answer this question until you know the slope. We do not know the slope of this line because this is not in slope-intercept form. So the first thing you need to do is get this into slope-intercept form. Y equals -3x plus 7. You have to move the 3x over. When you move it, it goes from positive to negative. Then you would divide by the coefficient of y, but y doesn't even have a coefficient, so there's nothing to divide by. So the slope of this line is -3. So the slope of a line parallel would also be -3. So that's all there is to that one. So we want the slope perpendicular to x plus y equals 5. You don't know the slope of this line yet because this is not in slope-intercept form. So you need to get this into slope-intercept form. Y equals -x plus 5. The slope is the understood -1 in front of x. The slope is -1. Now, I want to be perpendicular to this line. So I need to flip and switch my slope. I need the opposite reciprocal. Well, the reciprocal of the reciprocal of 1 is 1. And then I need the opposite. I need to change the sign so it goes from negative to positive. So the slope that I was looking for, the answer is 1. 1, 1. Okay. We want the slope, once again, same exact question. We want to be perpendicular to this line. The first thing we would need to do is subtract x from both sides. So we get that. And the second thing we need to do is divide by the coefficient of y so that y is all alone, that's slope-intercept form. So y equals -1/7 x plus we don't care. We don't care about the y-intercept, we don't care. So now if we want to be perpendicular to -1/7, we need the opposite reciprocal of -1/7. So you flip it, and you get 7, and then you change the sign so it goes from negative to positive. So the answer was 7. So really what this problem is asking is, can you find the slope? Can you find the slope 2 times and not mess it up? So we would want to find the slope of AB and the slope of segment CD. So when you're finding slope, you're doing y minus y divided by x minus x. That's on your formula chart, which you're allowed to use. 7 minus 5 is 2. 10 minus 2 is 8. And so our slope is 1/4. So then you go over to the other one and you do y minus y over x minus x, 2 over 8, which is 1/4. 1/4 equals 1/4, therefore those lines are parallel. Those segments are parallel because they have the same slope parallel. So I taught you guys, because sometimes we get confused about, is this an x equals or is this a y equals? But it's whatever axis it hits, that's the axis that you're gonna, the letter you're gonna use. So this line is a flat line, it has a slope of 0, and it hits the y-axis. It goes through the y-axis, it touches the y-axis. So this is a y equals line, and it's 2 above 0, 0, so it is simply y equals 2. The slope of that line is 0, because don't forget, you can make a z out of it. So the slope of that line is 0. What is the equation of the line that has a slope of 2/3 and a y-intercept of 9? This is not a tough problem, except for what's in parentheses down there, in standard form. Okay, so we're going to start with slope-intercept because we were given a slope and we were given an intercept. The next thing I would do is get rid of the fraction, right? Get rid of the fraction. So 3y equals 2x plus 27, right? If you multiply everything by 3, I think I got that. Yep, looking good. Then you could bring your 2x over, except we're going to be disobeying one of our rules. The leading coefficient can't be negative, so then we would need to change everybody's signs. Multiply everybody by -1, and so we would get 2x minus 3y equals -27. So parallel, perpendicular, neither. It doesn't matter that one was -10 and one was 10. Those numbers actually have nothing to do with it. X equals a constant means that you are going to have a vertical line. That's x equals -10 right there. Y equals a constant means you're going to have a horizontal line. And so those are going to be perpendicular because a vertical line is always perpendicular to a horizontal line.